fast on this side. I think I'm Big Meech.
What up, what up? Welcome back to the channel. I'm J and we are locked in. This is the recap for episode 3, Sanctuary of BMF season 3. Now this week, we get to pick up with Meech trying to make things shake in Atlanta. You're going to hear that a lot, and we see that Meech and Stacks, they end up getting robbed, but they start making a few connections, and we're starting to see the pipeline expand, and maybe St. Louis might be our next stop. But before we jump into this and we break down this episode, if you like BMF content, breakdowns, theories, and predictions, then hit your subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so you get something every time I upload. Make sure you hit that like button. I'm on that road to 50,000 subscribers, so I appreciate each and every one of you. And if you don't see this at 100 likes, hit that like button. Now, with Meech in Atlanta holding it down, we know that he's been trying to get in touch with Glock. We know that Techwood is out here acting a fool, and the Miami Killers are on the loose. So let's go ahead and jump into it. This is the recap for BMF Season 3, Episode 3, Sanctuary. We start the episode off with young Meech and his father, and Charles is teaching him one band, one sound. Everyone has to play their role when you're inside of a band, which is going to translate to everyone needs to play their own role when we're in BMF. Don't get in anyone else's lane. Now, when we go back to the present day, Meech is showing up to his crib. Now, as soon as he gets ready to open up the door, it looks like 3 henchmen, they run out. Turns out they just robbed Stacks for everything that they had left. So, of course, Meech, he sees this, he gets to bucking because you can't let someone take the product and get away without trying to get it back. Because when you owe somebody, yeah, you're going to owe a little bit more than that money if you can't come up with it. You're going to owe your life. After the robbery, Meech goes straight to the Platinum Palace because he has to talk to Angel. Remember, Angel is the one that told him to go meet up with Santiago, and that's how we got to connect from Loco. But then after that, the robbery happens. So Meech automatically thinks that Angel set him up. Now he's talking to her and she's like, I would never do that. And you remember she said that her reputation was on the line. Even though she works for Greenie, she's pretty loyal, it seems. Now Greenie comes over here and we always knew that something was off with him. He's talking about, you got any money? Meech is like, I don't know about that. But he's like, all right, well, listen, there's an event, Jack the Rapper. This ain't Atlanta until you get to Jack the Rapper, Meech. So he's basically letting them know that there's a huge event and you got to be there. Over at Terry's diner, we have Hoop and Sterling, and neither one of them want to tell Terry exactly what's going on, but they needed to meet up with him because all the people they've been selling to, all the rest of the work is gone. But Henry has been making it her #1 priority to start stealing all of Terry and them's customers. So right now, Hoop is saying, man, it's about to be a little dry out here if we ain't got no one to sell to. So Terry hears this and he's like, damn. But in between this conversation, Markeisha calls him. Now, Markeisha's been living at his house and she wants him to come on over. Now, of course, Terry's like, no, I'm not going over there. And he hangs up on her because look how she's been treating him when he bought her a house. And she told him, I think we should take our time before living with each other. After the robbery, BMF needs some money. So Meech takes it upon himself to pawn his Rolexes to make sure that everyone's eating. Because if people are starving out here and they ain't got no work or no money coming in, they might start to switch up on you. Now, Stacks, we all been wondering, is he loyal? How is he going to act? Is he really going to test Meech? Well, this is the moment we actually see that. And he's saying they're not following Meech no more because they don't have any work, even though he's the one that got them robbed and didn't do nothing about it. Now, Stacks say he ain't fucking with Meech, and Meech tells him, well, you're going to be out here dehydrated, starving in these streets. He looks at his crew and his crew is like, man, you ain't never pawned your Rolexes for us. You ain't never make sure that we were eating at all times. Stacks wants to get even and get Ty Washington's revenge. But Meech is saying this is not the time. Of course, it's not the time. They don't have any bricks. But the rest of his crew, including Payne, say, Stacks, we rolling with Meech and that's it. Meech is about to go to the Jack the Rapper event. Detective Brian has been put on by Blaze. Now he has to go over and work for his daughter, Henrietta. And when he gets here, they're trying to organize stuff and make sure that they are all right in the streets because they're taking all of Terry's clients. Now, Detective Brian is trying to get money for his son so he can have a great lawyer. The only problem is he has to put in some work. So Henrietta says, listen, you're working for me. The hell with what my dad says. What I need you to do is transport this next drop off and make sure that it gets back in one piece. You drop it off, you get the money, we good to go. We'll break you off with your money. Miss Lucille is at the church and they're just getting the bake sale ready to go. And guess what? Oh, sister over here talking about, girl, when you gonna let Dr. Maurice into your life? Because I know I've been looking for something like that. Now, Lucille, she's keeping it low key, talking about, shh, don't tell nobody. I don't want people up in my business. Well, long story short, pause on the long. Uh, she hands her something and says, yeah, it's easy to find a good man, but it's harder to find a hard man, if you get what I'm saying. Wink, wink. Charles shows up to Atlanta. He's greeted by Meech at the crib. Now, Meech has a plan in the back of his head. So what he's trying to do is butter his father up. Hey, Dad, man, how you like first class? We're going to take you to the mall. We're going to get you some new clothes. Hey, Duffy, turn that music on, because Charles deals with the music. So he hears the speakers and Charles is in awe. Charles is like, damn, that's some good sounding speakers right there. They got some range. So Charles is like, man, this is the life. This is definitely better than our house. Bryant goes along escorting Henrietta's load through the ambulance. Well, remember, Detective Jen, they have been following Cut this whole time. They had his address. And well, Bryant, Cut, Hoot, they end up getting into a shootout. While all of this is going on, Jen pulls up, she hops out, she ends up getting shot, and she sees Detective Bryant. Detective Bryant, he's in some hot water right now, because remember, he is suspended. And for Jen to see him on the other side, this can get crazy. Henrietta's been asking for information on Terry and Meech, and of course she has Detective Bryant on her side. So it looks like they devised a plan to call Child Protective Services. They show up to Terry's house, well, Wanda's mama house, and they're like, hey, we're not liking the conditions that this young gentleman, Terry Jr., is living in. And CPS can take the baby and the unborn baby. So now they have to figure out who done it, who called CPS. And Terry thinks that it might be Markeisha, because that's who Wanda is pointing the fingers at. Meech didn't want his father showing up to the Jack the Rapper event. But remember, Charles has always been into music and been wanting to go to one for the longest. He's finally here, and he tells Meech, I ain't going nowhere. And Meech is like, man, look around, Dad. This ain't the type of environment you want to be in. And we know how Charles gets. And he's saying, if there ain't one thing you haven't poisoned, you and all you street drug dealers. So Charles wants to be here to enjoy the music and potentially get back into the music career. Remember, Lucille messed up the guitar. Terry goes to talk to Markeisha, and he's calling her out. Did you call CPS on us? And she's throwing the line on him. I'm a mother. You know I wouldn't do anything like that. Why would you even think that? And he's just like, man, you can tell me, but it's a lot of pressure right now. They talking about taking Terry Jr. from me. They're talking about taking our unborn. Me and Wanda, we trying to get things together. You took this house from me. But Markeisha is letting him know, I will never degrade you. I will never tear you down. I'm only here to build you up. So that's kind of comforting for Terry that it isn't Markeisha. Meech ends up running into a guy by the name of Jay Pusher from St. Louis. And he's saying, hey, Meech, thanks for the love that you gave, because that pimp Greenie over at the Platinum Palace, he basically copped everything that we did and said it was on you. So Meech is like, yeah, I'm trying to look out for everybody, because Meech know if you put money in people's pockets, just like him pawning off his Rolexes to make sure that everyone eats, people are more inclined to stay around. Now, Jay Pusher is like, you know what I'm saying? We from Hustle City, St. Louis. Meech is trying to expand his operation. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to get in touch with y'all, but I got to come out to St. Louis and see how you're running this operation before, I give you guys any of the work. Lucille and Dr. Maurice, they end up catching up with each other. They sit outside. They think about all the good times, all the old times. And you know how it is when it's that one that got away, because that's what Dr. Maurice said about Lucille. That connection is going to be there forever. Now, he got her some popcorn from a fair that used to be out in Cleveland, and he's just doing his thing. But this is Dr. Maurice. And Lucille, she's thinking about Charles and where she went with Charles and what it could have been like with Dr. Maurice. And out of nowhere, that bake sale, he gives her $10,000, a check to donate to the church. Now he's going above and beyond, and they get them a nice little hug in. But Lucille, she might be hooked on some Dr. Maurice. Charles ends up meeting a guy by the name of Wesley Solomon. Now he has a record label, and he's talking to Charles, and he sees that Charles is reading, and he's like, okay, Charles, what do you actually do? And Charles is like, well, it's been a while, but I'm into the music. Now, this is actually Glock, And Glock is telling him, we may not be big time, but maybe we can use you. Now, we seen him in the background earlier at the Jack the Rapper affair. So he's been observing everyone in the room, and he's really making a play to get close to Charles so he can get next to Meech, because him and Meech, they have issues in the streets. Meech ends up meeting Tupac. Now, Tupac is in here smoking a little bit, and he's aware of his surroundings. He sees Uncle Luke's people in here, and he's letting Meech know, hey, I roll deep, but I'm good everywhere I'm at because I got family. Now, Meech at this point, he's looking at Tupac, and he's like, man, you larger than life. Man, everyone in the States loves you. Pac is like, nah, everyone in the world loves from Tupac. And we hear Meech say, well, one day I'm trying to get on that level. I want to see you at the top of the game, and I want to be there with you. And we know how big Pac got. We also know how big Meech got. So this is good to see this connection. Meech and Glock finally come face to face. Now, Tina is the one that told Meech, hey, you see that necklace? That's voodoo. That's the Miami Killers. They be coming into the shop. Now, Meech and Glock, they have a standoff. And remember, he just introduced himself to Charles. So Charles is like, wait, y'all know each other? And after this, a fight breaks out because at the point that we're at right now, the Miami Killers, they pretty much run everything. And we find out that Greenie actually works for Glock. And a fight breaks out, and the Red Dogs come and they shut it down. Terry finally gets his new place because he's trying to get it set up. So when Child Protective Services come through, they will see that he has a nice place and a location for Terry Jr., Wanda, and the baby that's on the way. Now, Markeisha shows up and she's like, you're living large. Well, he was living large prior to getting this condo because he just bought a brand new house that you're living in. These two, they've been away from each other for a while, and Markeisha does what she does best and tries to throw that thing on him. But in comes Mama Lucille, and she wants to talk to Terry because CPS being notified, this is a big deal, and she knows that her grandbabies could potentially be taken away unless Terry figures things out. Meech finally convinces his dad to go ahead and sign off on getting this house. After the drive back from the Jack the Rapper event, and Meech actually explaining to his dad, I know what you had to do in sacrifice because I watched you. Now I'm trying to do the same thing. We know that Charles didn't want to go through with signing off on the house because it was illegal, but he also understands that I got to do something to help my son out. We may not see eye to eye, but I still want what's best for him. Now Charles, he signs off, Meech gets the house, and he's like, man, call me a cab. I got to get back to Detroit. I got to get back home to my wife, Lucille. And at least Meech, he's established. He's in a gated community now. He ain't got to worry about getting robbed. Life is looking up for BMF. Later on that night, we see Greenie and Angel. And Greenie is on Angel talking about, say you ain't nothing without me. She says it. But then Meech shows up and he pulls her out the car because find out that Greenie works for Glock, the Miami Killers. So Meech is like, the setup wasn't because of Angel, it was because of Greenie. So him and Sterling, they start whooping on him. And Meech is like, if this happens ever again, I'm definitely going to eliminate you. Or in the words of Meech, turn your water off. Sterling stabs him with a glass bottle, and Meech and Angel, they go back to the crib, and she stays the night. Back in Detroit, Lucille is thinking about everything that's transpired over the day. Her, Dr. Maurice, her son, Child Protective Services, and when Charles shows up, she explains to him that Terry is in some trouble. And he's like, dang, I just got back. So she storms off and goes to bed, only for Charles to find out there's a $10,000 check in her purse that came from Dr. Maurice. Detective Brian goes to visit his son, Kevin, and just like we suspected, Kevin comes in here. He's beat up. He's hurt bad. He's limping. Brian's like, man, I got to get my son out of here expeditiously. I don't know what they're doing back there, but this ain't going to be happening on my watch. Kevin, listen to me. I'm going to get you out of here one way or another. I got the best lawyer. And remember, he's working with Henrietta. But Kevin looks like he's down and out. Meech talks to Angel while she's staying the night, and she's only going to be here for one night because she said, I ain't nothing without Greenie. And Meech is trying to let her know, you are. You got to take your worth back. Don't let Greenie get into your head. You're better than that. So now she's listening to Meech, and we know that Meech got some money to put in her pocket. So maybe this might be the last night that she's with Greenie, and she's going to go ahead and switch sides over to Meech. And this might be Big Meech's baby mama, who is little Meech's mama. And the last thing we see, Terry's waiting outside for Brian, and he's telling Brian, if you're going to be in the dope game, get with the winning team like you were when you were working for Meech. But Detective Brian, he don't want anything to do with the Flennory brothers. After all the nonsense they've been into, he wants to bring them down one way or another. So he looks at Terry and tells Terry, I'm out here working, and I'd rather get ran over than to work with you or your brother Meech. So Terry is looking like, damn. He's still working with Henrietta and she's stopping our supply. Man, Detroit, it might be a bloodbath coming soon. All right, there you go. The recap for episode 3. Let me know what you think about that. Who has a bigger issue on their hands? Is it Terry when it comes to Detective Brian and Henrietta? Or is it Meech down there with Greenie in the Miami Killers? Because it can go either way. Man, I'm just going to say this. It's starting to pick up. Meech is trying to expand. Terry, every time he goes left, someone's over there, a roadblock. He look right, a roadblock. So it's a lot on the plate for Terry. Let me know what you think. I'm MoDij. If I said anything that was interesting to you, or you just like BMF content and breakdowns, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'm on the road to 50,000 subscribers. Thanks for watching. I'm out.